This is my latest restoration project. It's a 91mm Victorinox from the late 40s with horn scales. And I would say it's sort of a pre-climber. It's like a Spartan with scissors. It doesn't have a back hook like climbers do these days. But Victorinox really didn't name their knives back in the 40s. They started that, I think, in the 50s. And this knife was simply known as Model 235. You can find it in as far back as the 1902 catalog, 235, and the 1942 catalog's 235, and then even in the 1954 catalog, it's in there as 235. Now I don't know what designation, letter designation or something may have been given for the horn scales, but there is a K designation for a smaller model, so that's the 84mm model. This is a 91. And here is a image from the 1942 catalog. I don't know how many knives Victorinox made with horn scales. I know they still do it today, and I don't know when they started that really. In the 1902 catalog, they all appear to be wood or red fiber scales. Now this is the page 37 from the 1942 catalog, and it looks to me like 3 of them are Celador scales. Here's 235. Here's 235K. It looks like it's depicted with horn scales. And then maybe these two. This one is a horn scale. It's kind of hard to tell from these drawings. This looks more like stag. Anyway, it's kind of interesting. So this was a labor of love. It took a lot of work. As you can see from the pictures, this knife came to me in really rough shape, particularly the main blade. The tip had been broken, so I had to reprofile that. And the edge was very rough, so I had to grind that down and sharpen it, of course. And it still needs a little sharpening. It's almost there. Of course, it was heavily scratched. It's got oil on it now, but so I had to, work that down with automotive sandpaper. I did it all by hand, except for the final step. I use a Dremel wheel with a Dremel with a cotton wheel and some semichrome polish. If you'd like to learn more about my restoration technique, I've got a couple videos out there how I restored a 1940s Swiss Army knife you might want to watch. But the rest of the tools are good. Blade's good now too. It looks a whole lot better than a lot of them out there. But this knife is not perfect, of course. What else can I tell you about this knife? It's a really cool vintage knife, with the exposed rivets, the bail, the lobster claw style can opener. That was used from 1946 to 1950. It's got the Army Swiss Tang stamp, and then on the other side, Victoria, Switzerland stainless. It's got the old tetrahedral awl here. It's really cool. But I just think the scales are beautiful. These older knives, they typically used buffalo horn, sometimes oxen. But I got a little more work to do on this. As you can see, the scissors are missing the spring. It came to me with a little broken stub of a spring. I was able to get that out. The hard part is that the new springs don't fit. This hole is too small, and it's not chamfered to accept the spring. So I've got two options. I'm going to try to find a pre-1975 beater and just buy it for the spring. Or I can write Victorinox and see if they might be able to hook me up with one. I'm afraid to send this to Victorinox to be repaired because I'm afraid what they'll do is they'll just drill out the hole and put a new modern double spring in there. And I'd really like to keep that vintage feature. I think the best restoration technique is to return things as closely to their original state as possible. And so if they drill it out, who's to say that the next owner of this might not have a vintage spring that they could just pop right in there. So I'd hate to do that. Okay, well, You know, the knife's in pretty good shape. Everything pretty well snaps back. Like I said, I got to work on those scissors. Try to find a solution for that. But I'm just really happy with the way it came out. Again, this is the first one like this I've had with these horn scales, and I just think they're beautiful. You know, they're different on each side. This one looks kind of wood. Over here, you know, blackish with that beautiful cream in there. So I'm loving this knife. And yeah, so it just took a lot of rubbing. But there it is, and I want to thank you for watching, and have fun collecting.